Welcome guys, Kerrod here at the Joondalup Resort. Today I'm standing next to Ryan Chamberlain, who is the club fitter and tech representative for Cobra Puma here in WA. Today we've got a bit of a different video. I'm going to be running through a full club fit. Now I haven't done one of these personally for about 4 or 5 years, and the last time I did it myself. And I'm a golf coach, but I'm certainly not a club fitter. Excited to spend today with Ryan to try and figure out exactly the specs that I need with my equipment and see how much potential we can get out of my clubs. So Ryan, thanks very much for coming along, mate.
Thanks, Kerrod. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So just starting off, let's talk about, let's say I've never come in for a club fit before. I've got these clubs in my hand. I'm not even quite sure the specs, which I aren't.
Yep.
I know that I've got a C-Taper X 130 gram, and I've got the King Forged MB combo set.
Yes.
Now these are probably, what, 4 years?
4 years old, yeah, got close to 4 years old.
Okay, so what would we do from here?
So first of all, we look at your swing, taking some data out of TrackMan. We then maybe make a choice in regards to head design, which way we want to go. If we want to go to something a little bit more forgiving or stay with the blade profile that you've got there. Mm-hmm. And then we go through the fitting process of looking at the length of shaft, lie angle, and then backing that up with some data as well on TrackMan to decide a shaft to get the final fit.
So, to be honest, one of the main preferences that I've got about these clubs is the aesthetics of it, right? Yep. So growing up, pretty much my whole junior, I was playing outside of my realm of capabilities using blades, and I've always used them, and these are probably some of the smallest profile headed clubs on the market. So whenever I've picked up something a little bit thicker with a little bit more cavity, don't get me wrong, I have enjoyed it. I do hit them well when I'm doing demonstrations for clients all the time. I do feel like they're quite comfortable to hit off the center, and I know on my miss hits, I will get better results. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, for me, looking down at something that I find very visually appealing with minimal offset has always been my preference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, and you talk about minimal offset, the blade is going to give you minimal offset. So if that's your personal preference, setting up an address, you know, there is still some technology within the blade profile that you're still going to get forgiveness for it as well through the manufacturing process and also the composition that they use as well.
Less hosel for me to hit too.
Less hosel. Very important. Let's watch you hit a couple of shots with your current eye.
Okay.
And then we'll go through a couple of different.
So here at Joondalup Resort, we've got a whole collection of brands. Today we're focusing purely on Cobra Puma. I've got association with the company that I'm very privileged and grateful for. So we're going to be using the TrackMan here today to pretty much measure all the shots that I'm hitting, and then we're going to use that to also compare some of the different specs, the shafts, the lie angles and everything else to see which of these clubs fit me the best. So how many do you want me to hit? Right?
We'll hit three shots with your current clubs there Kerrod. We'll get some data.
Yeah. So from a club fitting perspective as well, how important is it to not get in range of Rick mode and just drag and hit? Like go through the process, stand back and behind,
yes,
get your target line.
Well, as a coach, you know, you can get into bad habits, as you well know, if you just drag and hit. So first thing that gets affected with is alignment. So it's always important to take your time between shots, both when you're practicing and also club fitting. Try to create a real life simulation.
Absolutely.
Really low to the left.
Yeah, so ball flight tendencies, just to give you a bit of an idea. I don't really play that often anymore. Definitely demonstrating a lot, always kind of working on my own swing just to get it to a point where I can demonstrate on command when it comes to certain things with clients. My tendencies, if anything, have always been a little bit heely. I may have thought that might be because the clubs are slightly too long. Yep. We measured these, and what was the length?
37.5,
okay, so
which is our standard length in the club.
Oh, it is. Okay. So relative to that, shows my lack of knowledge, really.
You bring up an interesting point there. Standard length will vary between brands. It'll also vary between styles of clubs as well.
So those last couple been a little bit heely.
Yeah, and a little bit to the left.
And a little bit to the left.
We've got Vernon on TrackMan here. He'll be able to give us some numbers.
So Vernon Sexton Fink is our resident club fitter here at the Joondalup Resort and also our club professional. And he's got the TrackMan running, he's got the iPad with all the data on it. I've hit my 3 shots, so what do we see?
So first of all, club head speed. Mm-hmm. So that last one particularly was 95.7 miles per hour. 94.3 the previous, so you sit around about that 95. I think PGA Tour average is pretty close to that with a 7 iron, so you're definitely up there with the best in the world, mate.
They can putt better than me though.
Probably what I'm looking at there is potentially your spin rate. So
Yep.
with your 7 iron, it does tend to get a little bit higher.
Always been really high.
And do you find that affects your ball flight? Does it tend to get a little bit
Um,
high?
Yeah, like I think that's one of the reasons that I went with the C-Taper X 130 is because I was under the assumption that would lower the spin. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certain shafts are obviously going to lower the spin.
So from when I do go out and play, if anything, my miss is like spinny high right.
Yeah.
So part of the reason that I went down this road was I think it was a nice combination of supporting the speed of my swing and then also lowering the spin relative to what I saw. So with the 7 iron, are we looking for around 7,000 RPM?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
around 7 is a good bench point or benchmark.
Yep.
It's going to take into account mats as well.
Of course.
Mats will also lower the spin rate a fraction.
Yeah.
So we just take that into consideration. But if you normally look about 7,000 for a 7 iron.
Okay.
To me, that shaft looks like the flex is correct.
Okay, great.
One thing I did notice there is your ball speed does drop off a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see with the new technology, with some of the new irons, if you are getting a little bit heely, how that affects ball speed.
Okay.
Ball speed will obviously impact the spin as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So I know you said you didn't like the more of the progressive iron. I'm going to give you the King MIM Tour here.
Okay.
Okay. So it does have a blade profile. It uses the MIM manufacturing process, which is it's unique to Cobra. We're the only ones making a full iron in that process. I've given you a C-Taper 130X just so we can compare apples for apples.
Okay, same length, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So 3 shots of this?
3 shots of that, yeah.
Straight away I feel that the grip is slightly thinner, so
Yeah,
actually feels better in my hands.
You'll notice that obviously we'll customise the grips for the final product.
So that felt pretty similar in regards to the heel strike, a little bit left as well. Don't know distance-wise, I don't know, it kind of felt like it went a little bit shorter. Definitely feels softer off the face, doesn't feel as clicky, maybe is the word.
So you felt like it didn't go quite as far?
Yeah, I think I'm just so used to the feedback of the other clubs. So when I get that harder sensation off the face, it feels like it goes further, but are the lofts the same on these?
Slightly stronger.
Slightly stronger,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, they're pretty true to what you've got. They're probably 2 degrees stronger than what you've got.
Yeah, okay. So it just, like overall, it feels a lot softer. Like it's great because the miss hits definitely feels kind of like I've hit the center of the blade. I think it's all relative to the level of golf that you play at. Preferentially for me, I do like that immediate feedback. If I miss hit it, I'll kind of want to know.
Yeah,
True. Yeah. So the thing I really like about these clubs when I set down and put it in front of me, there really isn't that much offset here. I love that. I can see that the face is a little bit longer and a fairly sort of small profile with that leading edge, which I like, with the top edge, which I like. So that one was the best struck, but still a little bit left there. So a common question that I get from a lot of players in their coaching is when I see that their equipment's probably not perfectly fit for them, a lot of them are hesitant to go into a fitting when they're not hitting it that well, right? So what's your sort of opinion on that?
Look, I think that the foundations are always going to be the same. We're always going to have bad days and good days. If you feel like you've done a fit and you weren't happy with the way you were swinging on that day, there's no harm in coming back and then just confirming and making sure you're happy with the
change. Yeah. And how often when someone does get a fit, go away, come back, it's pretty close anyway.
It's going to be very close.
Yeah.
It's more a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to change too much.
So in coaching, one of the big things that we do tend to see, right, is a multitude of effects, but really the cause of what is creating those different effects sometimes is pretty much the same.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I suppose in club fitting, even though between your good day and your bad day, maybe your swing speed changes very, very minimally.
Yes.
Okay, but not enough to change the type of shaft,
Exactly.
distance from the ball, lie angle, and that sort of
We're
thing.
talking more path,
Yeah.
club face, which again is
Yeah.
technique. It's not going to, that's things through the fitting process, lie angle, shaft flex, isn't going to alter those things massively.
Okay, great. So three
Let's
of
have a look at
those.
some numbers here, mate, because
Yeah.
you might be surprised.
Perfect.
So with the MIM Tour there, your club head speed went down to 94.3, 94.7.
Yep.
You actually carried it 7 metres further.
I did. Okay.
With that particular golf club.
Yeah.
I did mention ball speed before. So we picked up ball speed there. You went up to 134 mile per hour.
Mhm.
With your blades, we were 126. So
Okay.
that ball speed relates to distance.
Yeah, yeah.
The other factor as well is we did speak about how your iron was spinning a touch too much. We've actually got the spin rate down now to 7.5.
Okay. Okay.
So the spin rate did come down a little bit. You did have one that jumped up to 8,000 there, so it did spin a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, with your blade, you're up to 9.3 there.
So a common question we also get hitting off the mat is, does that affect the way the ball flies? But I suppose the benefit of using something like TrackMan, it normalizes it, doesn't
Exactly.
it? So it accounts for the range ball in the
Yeah.
mat, and then it will give you those consistent numbers that you would get if you were hitting off the grass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You did launch it a touch lower as well, so
Yeah.
if you're wanting that slightly lower ball flight, then that could be a really good option for you.
I suppose this is an interesting discussion, right? Because when we look at the type of clubs, so if you were to look at that from face value, you go, well, that's a better club for me.
Yes.
Right? Now, I suppose when you get within a bracket of competency with the level of golf that you're playing, how much, let's say, if I was going to go and play purely for performance, right? And I'm going to go out from 150 meters and I've got that MIM Tour, you could probably bet your money that the average of 100 shots is going to be better
Yes.
with that club, based on what we just saw there.
Yes.
How much, when you're club fitting, I suppose this is maybe an interesting concept that maybe isn't applied all that often. How often do you ask the player, and I suppose this is more relative to a better player, is does that trump, does the benefits of that little bit of success there or improvement trump the way that it feels over the golf ball? Like, what would you prefer? Because you're a professional yourself, so if you're standing in the middle of the fairway and you're looking down at something and you're really comfortable and
Yep.
confident over
Yep.
it, versus something that you might have an incremental adjustment over, let's say a couple of meters, what would you generally encourage people to do?
Good question. For me, confidence is such a key thing on a golf course. If you feel confident over the golf ball, more than likely you're going to put a confident swing on that golf shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if it's confidence that you're getting from visually something more like a blade, like you're talking about, then that's definitely a way to go. And we'll try that in a minute for sure.
Okay, perfect.
But
So what do we
I
got
mean,
here?
technology's there. It's come a long way. As I said, we've got a profile there that looks very close to a blade.
Yep.
But it's going to give you a little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more consistency as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've just changed shafts there. We've stayed with the X Flex, gone into the taper 130 there, and we'll just hit 3 shots and have a.
So I see there is a bit of there's hardly any steps on this shaft. So what's the difference between the dollar taper and the previous shaft that I just hit then?
It's still a mid-launch.
Yep.
Low spin. So it's going to give you the same properties, slightly different feel.
Oh, I like the feel of that. Yeah, immediately that felt easier to swing.
Okay, beautiful. It's going to be weighted differently. Obviously, the composition that you've got
Yeah.
in the C taper, it's
Yeah.
a different composition.
And I suppose heavy shaft, small head.
Yes.
I definitely feel it through the shaft more
Yep.
rather than weighting in the head. This one's a little bit more in the head here. That's just feel. And obviously we're just talking about a couple of grams here or there, but sometimes when you're attuned to using something for a while, you get very used to it. So that was Healy, but held its line really nicely. Is it just me, or is that launching a little bit higher as well?
Let's have a look. Launch. Landed on top of each other there. That did launch half a degree.
Lower?
Higher.
Higher, yeah. Yeah.
Just under a degree. Dispersion very tight there. Shot. It's a good flight.
Yeah. So first instincts based on all those shots, this is my favourite feeling shaft, without a doubt so far.
Yeah, and that one's flown the furthest. Okay, so we did get a little bit more carry compared to the previous shaft there. Dispersion's tighter. So
Yep.
when we talk dispersion, we're talking mishits or direction.
Yep.
So it's a lot tighter there. That launch was pretty solid at 15.2, carried at 167, spin rate 8.3. So naturally, you're going to be quite a high spinning player anyway.
Yeah. So that's an important concept that Ryan brings up there, is that each player has their own tendencies, be it low spin, high spin. Me, myself, at the moment of impact, generally tend to get my lead wrist cupping a little bit more, which adds a little bit of loft and adds a little bit of spin. I offset that by hitting down, but the effect is that my smash factor isn't as good as it could be, and it generally tends to spin a little bit more. I've done that my whole life and I've learned how to play with it, but it is also something that I'm always trying to work on and improve as well, which is key.
And if you do improve the technology, as we spoke about before, that shaft, if you do decide to go with that sort of shaft, even if you do make those changes, it's only going to bring the specs or the data into the parameters that we want down to the 7,500.
Okay, great.
But you can definitely play with that spin rate, that launch.
Yeah, that felt great. Okay, cool.
All right, now let's go into something that we all know that you wanted to hit. You've been eyeing it off every time you've walked in this direction.
Absolutely.
So we have the forged MB. So this is designed after Ricky Fowler's limited edition iron that came out a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't out yet. It's a bit of a sneak peek of what I can't even say it. Sneak preview of what's to come.
Beautiful.
So this is a forged copper head. Everything about it is traditional. It's a really thin top line, buttery soft, if you like to use that term. It's amazing feedback.
Yeah.
True lofts. So when we talk about true lofts, it's probably 2 degrees weaker than the min tours that you hit.
So pretty similar to what I was using before.
Very similar to what you had, yeah.
Okay.
For sure. So let's hit a couple of shots, and it is a different shaft because I don't have the fitting one as of yet. Mm-hmm. So we'll take that into account. But we'll get. So
with a slightly flexier shaft, this being an S flex, still the C taper, what should I expect to see?
So it's going to be a little bit lighter in your hands. Mm-hmm. I would expect to see it potentially spin a little bit more.
I love the way these smaller profile heads feel through. I'm just hitting through a mat here, but it would be the same effect if I was going into the grass. For me, myself, like I feel something that's a little bit thicker in the sole sometimes drags a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
And just the feedback straight off, I actually don't mind, happens a lot, mishitting it, because I know where my swing was or my strike was in that instance there.
So that's probably the difference that you're going to notice. For me, it's a great shot, it's on target. The ball flight was maybe a little bit balloony.
Yeah, definitely felt
which
that.
I think going into the other shaft that we tried would definitely fix that.
Yeah.
When we talk about ballooning, we might lose a bit of carry.
Mm-hmm.
Directional wise though, was spot on target. So the other thing, what I'd expect to see, because it's a lighter shaft, 2 things are going to happen. In most cases, your swing speed is going to increase, which is going to help obviously overall direction. But your dispersion is probably not going to be quite as tight as the X-Flex and the heavier shaft is.
Yeah.
So that last one, your swing speed was at 95.1. You carried it at 167. Launched at 14.9, so pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Very similar to the other numbers that you had. But the direction was a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Interesting, the one before, you got it up to 97.5 swing speed.
That previous
which is your
one.
fastest swing speed.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd expect to see with a lighter and a stiff shaft, having been in the X-Flex.
Yeah, okay.
You could definitely work with that sort of shaft. But as I said, you're going to find your dispersion is going to go a little
I feel it does feel a little bit whippy through the impact zone.
Yeah, you're going to notice a little bit more kick at impact there, as opposed to a little bit more stability in the other shaft.
Okay, so we used mine. We've tried 2 of the MIM, and then we've tried this. Now, what's the next process?
I think I know where your heart wants to go.
Yeah. So I want this one here, and then
finish is pretty nice.
Copper finish, beautiful golf club. For the amount of golf that I play at the moment, I like the idea of going out and being able to mishit it slightly in direction, everything, and looking at the numbers. Obviously, that the MIM with the dollar sign. Shaft was dollar taper was the best option. What about blending them? So for example, if I'm not really that concerned in regards to ball striking and maybe the accuracy and distance when it comes to the 6 iron through to pitching wedge, because I love the profile, what can we do with like 5 iron and 4 iron to maybe give me some more forgiveness when I need it?
You gave me a nice little segue there. So I already grabbed this out of the bag. So we actually got the MIM Tour in copper coming out.
Okay.
So this is exactly the same as what you hit previously in the chrome. We're now adding it in a copper finish.
Okay, beautiful.
So that would be a great little complement in a 4 or 5 iron if you're not feeling confident or you want a bit more forgiveness in those longer irons.
Yeah.
We all know as the clubs get a little bit longer and the head profile doesn't get bigger, that can affect confidence, as we spoke about before. So having something a little bit thicker on that top line with a 4 and a 5 iron could definitely be an option.
Yeah, okay. So one of my favourite clubs that I have in my bag at the moment is the older utility iron, the black-headed one.
Yes.
And it's very, very chunky at the top, but I've got so much confidence using that off the tee. So really myself, I've always used the 4, 5 and 3 irons in my bag. I've never really had a hybrid, so I'd probably maybe ditch the utility iron that I've got and probably get a 3 iron in maybe this sort of look. And then relative to the distances of the other ones, then get the 4 and 5 in as well. If we feel like that I'm going to get better dispersion as a result.
You could well stay if you wanted to, depending on what you want the shots for. You could stay with something like that in a 3 utility.
Okay.
Depending on what you wanted to use it for. If you're wanting a lower ball flight, more off the tee, then that's definitely a good option to stay with. Or you could go into the 3 iron in the MIM Tour. Very nice shot. How does that feel?
Easy to hit. Easy. Significantly easier than the blade, that's for sure.
So it probably makes sense to go with a 4 or 5 iron in that particular head profile.
Yeah, based on the size of the blade that we were hitting before, I can only imagine it would be pretty scary hitting a shot 200 metres over water with a butter knife at the end of a stick there.
You know, and interesting to note, you look at some of the best players in the world, take Ricky Fowler, our Cobra ambassador, for example. He's actually got last year he was gaming the speed zone 4 iron in his bag.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's super forgiveness. That's more of a golf club that targets the 12 to 20 handicap. It comes out so hot. He put it as a 4 iron in there because it performed like his utility that you've got in the bag there. Okay. And again, that depends on what golf courses you want. If you want to hit more irons, lower ball flights off the tee, that can complement the bag really well.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
Right, let's look at some lie angles.
Okay, so we're doing lie board test here. This is to check the lie angles of the golf club. Why are lie angles important?
So lie angles all about direction. So if your lie angles are a little bit out, it's going to affect the direction of the golf ball.
Okay.
Okay, so if the heel digs in, typically you're going to see a ball flight that goes left. If the toe digs in first, we might see a ball flight that loses to the right.
Okay.
So lie angle is the angle of the shaft relative to the ground.
Yeah.
So we want at impact that to making square contact. We don't want to be toe heavy or heel heavy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we've got a bit of tape down on the bottom. This is going to make a mark from hitting off the board here.
Exactly, and then we've got some face tape on there. This is also going to help with lie angle, but also length. So we want ideally the middle of the golf ball to be lining up with the middle of the face and the middle of the sole.
Okay, great.
So lie will be affected by the length of the golf club as well. So we want to get both of those things correct.
Sure. And this is standard length shaft at the moment?
This one that I've given you is a little bit longer.
Yep.
So typically, you said to me that you always hit heel shots.
I do, generally.
And heel marks. We did actually a little bit of a test before, and you were heel heavy on the sole and heel on the face.
So this is a standard lie at the moment?
I've got that at a standard lie.
Standard lie, yeah. So generally, I think I've had flat lies from memory over the years.
So looking at what your clubs were, to me that they look like they were a little bit short and potentially a little bit upright.
Okay. Should make sense.
So we've seen two pretty much ideal face marks.
Yep.
So right in the centre there.
So we've got those two right there in the centre, and then the wear marks down on the bottom. You can see slightly on the heel there.
Yes, the first one was definitely heel side. The last one was a little bit more central.
Yeah.
Maybe just still definitely a little bit heel side, but a little bit more central.
Okay.
All right. So Yeah, I'm going to change heads.
Yep.
Because that points to me that the length of the golf club looks pretty right.
Okay, great.
If anything, the head could be potentially a little bit upright.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to change to something that's a little bit flatter, as you said, that you've normally gone for. So this is a 2-degree flat head.
Yep.
And we'll chuck some face tape on that one as well. Hopefully we see the mark in the face in the same spot. Given looking at your golf swing, I'm expecting to see that. It's looking pretty good, mate, for someone who doesn't play too much.
Lifetime of golf will do that to you.
Yes. Like riding a bike. Or falling off a bike golf, more like it. Some days anyway.
All the time. Alrighty. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
So slightly off the heel, just a little bit there, but I felt that.
Yep.
General miss, but lie angle, as we can see there, pretty much bang on.
And the
Right in the
face
centre.
tape there, it's still central, maybe slightly heel side, but again, not going to compromise anything. The sweet spot on that particular golf club, even the blade, you're not going to notice
No, not at all.
a drop of performance. So how does that feel in your hands, given that we've added a little bit of length compared to yours?
Feels perfect,
Was good?
honestly. Feels perfect. Yeah,
Alright.
grip's definitely a little bit too thick on that one.
Yep, so that's something we mentioned about earlier. We can definitely customise the grip through our custom fitting centre. So basically a 1/4 inch longer.
Okay,
than
so
so it's not a big change.
yeah,
But you can see they're 1/4 inch longer. When we tested yours, a lot of your marks were here.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're definitely more heel side.
Yeah.
Adding a 1/4 inch, we've now brought the contact towards the centre.
Mm-hmm.
And now going into a slightly flatter lie, we've now got you into a perfect spot.
perfect,
Pretty
fantastic.
happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you repeat that, mate, you can definitely use blades all day long.
Yeah, definitely. So I suppose if we had that exact makeup in that fitting head with the RF iron that we're
Yes.
looking at,
Yes.
well then there's a good chance that the dispersion would have been tighter and everything else considered.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
perfect. So that's
And
the
you're going to pick up the feel as well.
yeah, fantastic.
All right. Happy?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'll get you to do, I always like people to hit, once we've finalised the length and the lie, just to hit 2 shots without the lie board there.
Yeah, sure.
Just to hit a couple of shots, just so you're happy. Feel for turf interaction as well.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're feeling the club go through the turf in the right manner.
Yeah, that's interesting, because a lot of the time when I'll pick up a client's club and I'll hit a shot, I can definitely feel the lie angle. I might not be able to see it unless it's really overtly one way or the other, but I can definitely feel it through the ground there. That feels incredible.
You hear the sound straight away.
Yeah, that felt
The
really.
sound relates to feel, and that sounded spot on.
That felt really. I think one shot wonder there, mate.
Vern, what were the numbers there, mate?
That's great.
Spin rate, obviously without the face tape on, it's jumped back up again just under 8,000. Clubfit speed interesting was 96.3. Attack angles stayed relatively consistent. Ball speeds jumped up to 139 and launched at 15.8, which is pretty much in the perfect window.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Yeah, felt great.
yeah, it's good.
Okay,
Beautiful.
perfect. On to the big dog.
All right, let's go.
So traditionally driving hasn't been my strength, I'll be honest about that. And when I fit myself for this, I think I originally put the hazardous smoke in.
Yes.
Right, so I've got the King F9, 10.5 degree at the moment, and Atmos 7X to a spec.
Yep, so gone heavy, probably about 76 grams,
Yep.
extra stiff shaft. So that's a low launch, low spin shaft.
Mm-hmm.
So given what you told me about your irons, that you tend to get a little bit cuppy, what
Yep.
we're going to see is a slightly higher, more spinny ball flight with potentially the driver as well.
Correct. I've always tried to work on certain things, and like especially with my setup, to try and launch it lower.
Yeah.
I usually develop that as a bit of a feel throughout the game, somewhat challenging to do when you're only hitting a couple of shots here and there. But as time goes on throughout the game, I generally tend to manipulate my swing a little bit to lower that ball flight.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the beauty of the options that we have in shafts now. We can lower ball flights, we can to cater your personal preferences and maximise gains out of the driver. Okay, so a little Healy.
Yeah, just a little on that one.
Direction was good.
Yeah, direction was good on that one.
Big dog, 117.6.
So that would be my general miss there.
Okay, so starting on target with a slight tail to the right.
Yeah, I've never, ever, unless I'm trying to purposely hit it off the toe, which will give me gear effect, draw a driver.
Are you happy with the fade?
It doesn't really bother me, to tell you the truth.
It's on the fairway?
Yeah.
Do you like to shape it if need be, or?
No. I'll just pull out my utility, and I suppose it gets to a level or a time in your golf game where you know your tendencies, you know your players, your types of shots as an individual, and then the more golf you play when you're out there, then you can start to manipulate through your bag in one way or another. When you see yourself faced with a certain shot, on here, there's no point me trying to hit a draw with a driver because I know I probably can't execute it that well.
Yep.
So that's where I'd pull out my utility or an iron and try and shape it one way or another, which I can get the position. Yeah.
Perfect.
So one more of those.
That's a really important thing as well. I think for the club golfer, they should think that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you can use driver doesn't mean that you should.
Okay, that was a good strike.
Yeah, that felt good. That felt really good. So that one was a little bit higher and off the toe, which should lower the spin. You'd probably be pretty good distance on that one.
So that last one was 256 carry, 268 total. So straight away, your attack angle is a little bit downward into the golf ball.
Correct.
When we see a downward attack into the golf ball, we usually see a spin rate jump up a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
so that particular one, you spun it at 3.6.
Mm-hmm.
Clubhead speed's pretty much on 117 the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to do is grab your shaft that you've got out of the driver there.
Yep.
And then we're going to... So you've got a 10.5 head.
Yep.
In this one. So your launch numbers are pretty good. 10 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go a touch higher. I'm going to go for, even though you've been in a 10.5 degree head, I'm going to give you a 9 degree head.
Okay.
Because you typically spin the golf ball a bit more,
Mm-hmm.
the 9 degree head, the way it's made, is going to spin a little bit less.
Okay.
What I'm going to do from there is just add a degree of loft.
Yep.
Up to 10 degrees. We're going to try your shaft that you've got in your current driver. So this is all about the head, and I'll talk about the head very shortly in the details after we look at some numbers.
Love the look of it. Love the matte finish on the head as well. It's beautiful. It looks really good.
Yeah. And we'll get to the tech in that one very shortly. Slightly lower launch, more penetrating. I'm expecting lower spin on that one.
So I suppose with the lower loft as well, that's going to encourage me swing-wise to try and work and hit a little bit more up on it, lower the spin anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
I suppose I've been using a high lofted club as such, just as a bit of a crutch.
Yes. Yes. So that one there, we lowered the spin rate down to 2.8.
Mm-hmm.
With the F9, you carried at 256. That last shot you carried at 268.
Okay.
But your total distance was 287. So you got more run because it's had a lower spin.
Yep.
It was a slightly lower launch. And the clubhead speed stayed the same. It was at 117.4.
Sign me up. Okay, so that was really good contact. A little bit right of my target. But I love the feeling of that off the face. Just slightly higher off the toe.
Yeah, that's one where you do spin it a little bit much, you lose it to the right. So that's probably a little bit more technique where you just get out of the shot a little bit early,
Mm-hmm.
open club face, and then you get the high spin you want out to the right.
But I'm looking at the dispersion relative to if I was aiming at a certain part of the fairway. I'm not going to stand in, knowing my tendencies, I'm not going to stand in the center of the tee box and aim up the center.
Yes.
Like I've always been a player who has teed up on the right-hand side of the tee box, where applicable, aimed up the left. So when I have my tendency of to leak it out to the right, so that one there, when I'm imagining a fairway, however wide that would be, that would probably still be pretty good, yeah. So I like that, I like that. Feels good, like definitely contact off the face. Is it different material on the face compared to that other one that I've got?
Yeah, so with the face, we've now got what's called the infinity face. So that was a progression from F9 to Speed Zone, and they've kept that technology through into Radspeed. So infinity face, it's machine milled the whole way across the face. It also wraps over the crown as well.
Okay.
Now what that does, it's a machine milled, so it means it's tighter tolerances the whole way across the face. So we can get the thin thickness, the face thickness as thin as possible without breaking the rules. The benefit of that is if you catch it heel or toe, you're not going to have ball speed drops.
Okay.
And
So
as we know, ball speed relates to distance.
a little bit more distance.
Good flight. Do you like that flight? It is a little bit lower than what you
Well, I see the potential in it, right?
Yes.
I feel like I like that flight because it looks like it spins lower. I know it's going to run a little bit further. And I know that when I get some time to work on my technique, it's going to complement those changes. I'm okay launching it a little bit lower like that.
Good. All right. I'm pretty happy with that head design. I would like to change the shaft. Now,
Okay.
if we do talk head technology, we spoke about the face. Why we've called it Radspeed. We've got what's called radial weighting is now into the driver. So we always had the rear center of gravity, which we've carried through into this. So that's an 8 gram weight at the back of the driver that we had in F9. So that kept the driver very stable.
Yep.
We've now been able to use through a process or a formula called radius of gyration. It's about getting technologies as far away as possible from the center of the head gravity.
Okay.
All right, so now we've got the radial weighting, which this particular driver, the Radspeed, it's got 2 8 gram weights in the slots here that you can see. The idea for that is for fast ball speeds, lower spin, higher launch.
Okay. Fantastic.
So,
That's great. So what sort of shaft do you think that we should be chucking in there? Something that's going to lower the spin again, or?
I'd like to try something very similar. Same sort of weight, same sort of flex.
Okay. And so if they were going to go get if player was going to go get a comprehensive fitting from their local Cobra rep, for such as myself, who uses X Flex, with a complete fitting set, how many different options for X Flex would there be in a fitting set?
Currently, we would have 4 options.
4 options,
Four
yeah.
options.
And that's more than enough generally to try and find the sweet spot for what you're looking for.
Sure.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, 4 options. Usually 4 options in the X Flex, probably 5 to 6 in the stiff, and 5 to 6 in the regular and light as well.
Yeah, perfect. So that's a lot of combinations when you try heads and everything as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just going to try the hazardous smoke.
Yep. So this is a shaft that I also have, which I interchanged with my previous driver. From memory, I'm not quite sure why I changed it out. Maybe just how I was feeling on the day. But this was the original one that I got fitted on as well. Feels lighter.
It will be a fraction lighter. Yep.
Feels lighter. Definitely felt that like straight away.
Do you like that feeling in your hands, or?
Ooh, I really liked the feeling of the previous one there, but I've only hit one. So let's go again.
Sometimes you know straight away whether you like a shaft, even from just one hit.
Well, I feel like that was a lot lower spinning,
Yes.
but it also kind of looked like it, probably a little bit longer, but it looked like it kind of dropped out of the sky a bit.
So yeah, 260 carry. Spin was at 3.2.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Typically, I mean, we're running 2 shots with that, but it's not really giving us any more than.
Feel-wise, I definitely don't like it as much as the other one.
Okay, so straight away I'd probably grab that one, rip it out of your hands, and then try something else if,
Let's do that
if you
then.
don't like the feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Feel is everything.
Okay. So then the next one we've got is?
We're going to try the Ordilla Rogue.
Okay, great.
So back into the X-Flex 75 grams.
So the whole fitting process has become considerably easier over the years since they've had the adjustable hosels and all the head options and shafts, as opposed to going out back and gluing it, bonding it, waiting for it, coming out with 10 different drivers. Okay.
Yeah, it just gives so many different options for the players' individual feel,
Yeah.
individual ball flights. We can fit to the numbers, but we still got to fit to players' preferences as well.
Okay.
So I'm expecting to see probably a lower ball flight.
Felt better than the last driver, than the last shaft. Launch was, yeah, definitely lower on that one. Slightly low on the face, so it launched a little bit higher, a little bit spinnier. How was the distance on that one relative to the previous one?
So that was 254 carry, 265 the previous.
265, yeah.
Yeah, but you did have more runs, so 282 total.
Yeah, okay.
Because that shaft's launching for me maybe a touch low, we could even contemplate going back into the 10.5 head.
Head, yeah.
That could be an option.
Yeah.
To see how it performs. For you, I'd always have the weight forward.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
so the weight forward's going to lower your spin numbers.
Yeah. So to be honest, out of the three, I kind of, and it might just be because of the feel that I had originally, but definitely appearance-wise as well, and the feel of the club moving. I suppose it's got a level of comfort as well. The shaft that I originally had so far has felt the best. So what do we got coming up?
So we're going to try another shaft as well. So we're going to try the Hazardous Smoke
Okay.
Blue.
Yep.
So that's a new shaft to our Matrix this year.
Yep. So what would be the difference about this one here as opposed to the other Hazardous?
It's going to be a little bit more livelier.
Okay.
It's a counterbalance shaft as well.
Yep.
So you should feel like an even weight distribution.
Mm.
I feel like it's a very stable shaft when you swing it. So I'd be interested to get your feedback with it as well.
Looks great. Feels good. It's a good start.
I'm expecting to see a lower spin here. This is a lower spinning shaft than the yellow. So everything points there at the moment to your current shaft that you've got in your F9, so the Atmos Black. That looks like it's working the best. Dispersion's gone a little bit on this one, the spin rate's gone up.
It feels nice in my hands. I feel like with a bit of work on my technique, I would probably like this one as an option. Would you recommend with players that are working on their technique at times to maybe have a couple of shafts that they could interchange with drivers?
There's definitely no harm in having a backup shaft.
So out of the 4 shafts that we've tried there, what would your preference
I'd
be?
stay with the original shaft.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'd like to go a little bit heavier with this particular shaft. I just don't have it on hand at the moment.
What's that
Being
one
a
there?
new shaft, this is the 60. I'd like to put you into the 70. So that's why we saw the dispersion
Go a little bit
go
further,
with
right?
So this is only just new to market, so we'll have our 70 grams very shortly,
Okay.
which
Okay.
we'll get out to and double check that. I'm going to go to the Aldilla Rogue, which works quite well for you. And
Okay.
just put you back into the 10.5 head.
Okay. Just to check the.
Just to double check, I'm pretty happy with the 9-degree head set at 10 degrees with the Atmos Black, which is your current shaft.
Mm.
And then we can potentially look at trying the Hazardous Smoke Blue in a heavier shaft. Heavier weight.
A little bit off the heel there. Certainly started a lot straighter, which I don't mind.
nice. So we saw a slightly higher ball flight there.
A little bit higher on the
Yeah,
face
so a
there.
little spinny again. We got up to 3.5 there, which affected the overall barrier. So for me, I think you're going to get the maximum distance out of the 9-degree driver,
Yeah.
set to 10 degrees,
Yeah.
with your Atmos black shaft.
Easy, easy. So generally, how long does it take? Like, how many shots does it take to get a pretty accurate idea or fitting of shafts? Because you can stand there and you can hit a lot of shots in a row and you start to feel a bit tired. So especially after hitting 20 drivers, maybe your technique starts to suffer a little bit.
I think five or six good swings, having breaks between obviously each shot, going through your pre-shot routine, I think that's ample.
Sure.
You definitely don't want to be dragging in drivers and swing at 115 mile per hour or swing at a maximum speed of anyone. It's going to tire you out.
Yeah.
It's going to affect performance.
Yeah, okay.
So I think 4 or 5 shots with each shaft, and then look at some numbers.
Yeah.
Also assessing the feedback from the person you're fitting, which we did.
Mhm.
You know, we spoke about feel there, and you felt more comfortable with your shaft. So taking all those things into consideration as well.
Great. Okay. So we've done the driver. Now we're not going to do the fairway wood, but what would your recommendation be for? Let's say that I've got enough time to do my driver fitting. I've got a good shaft that I'm happy with.
Yeah.
Would you try and match that with your fairway wood?
Yeah, depending on head design. So with fairway woods, you can either go for, again, coming back to personal preference and what you're wanting out there and the performance in a fairway wood. You could look at a traditional Radspeed fairway. It's got the rails on the bottom that's going to launch a little bit higher. Weight sits at the back.
Yeah.
So that's going to launch a little bit higher.
Yep.
So we could definitely look at a shaft that ties in with your current driver.
Okay.
We then have the Radspeed Big Tour fairway, so a little bit different. The weight is at the front.
Okay.
So this is going to give you faster ball speeds, lower spin.
Yeah.
So that might affect the ball flight, so we might need to look at a different shaft there to take into consideration with launch and spin. So in most times, fairway shafts for the general public and general golfer are going to match.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the specific needs, depending on head design, we might find a different shaft ties in there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much, Ryan, for your
Pleasure, mate.
assistance
That
today.
was
So we got myself fitted for a Cobra Radspeed. What was that?
9 degree.
9 degree.
Set to 10 degrees. And we stayed with your Atmos Black 70X shaft at the moment. Great shaft. We know it performs. It works well for you as well. Works well for your impact position and your current game. So you know how it's going to work. And then with the irons, we went with the forged Ricky Fowler look in the copper.
Love it.
$1 million. We went actually slightly longer in the shaft, so we went quarter inch longer.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
then brought the contact back into the centre. You always said you were heel striking. And then we went 2 degrees flat, which sorted out the lie angle as well to more of a square lie.
Okay, fantastic.
Very good.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate
Thanks,
your
mate.
help.
Pleasure.
Cheers.